My name is Lena, and I was born right after my twin sister Nina, though it often felt like I showed up to a party that had already started without me. Those few minutes between us grew into miles as our childhood unfolded in completely different directions. Our parents, Catherine and Gregory, raised us in a colonial-style house in western Massachusetts. Mom worked at an interior design firm, fluent in aesthetics, obsessed with appearances, and rarely seen without lipstick and heels. Dad was a high school math teacher who brought home more grading than conversation. On paper, we were your average middle-class family, but in practice, it was clear who mattered more. Nina was the sun, and I was whatever grew in the shade. I first started noticing the differences around age 5. At first, it was all small things, quiet exclusions no one else seemed to hear. Other parents treated twins like a matched set. Our parents made sure Nina always looked like the main child. Nina got custom-fitted coats while I wore last season's hand-me-downs. She got the authentic Barbie dolls. I got the knockoffs from the dollar store. Even our birthday celebrations felt uneven. Nina's portion of our shared cake always seemed bigger, her pile of presents always taller. These moments didn't scream, but they accumulated. Quiet weights in my chest. Nina got her ears pierced at 6. I was told, maybe next year. When she started ice skating lessons, I was told we couldn't afford the skates. And yet somehow, there was always room in the budget for Nina's flute, painting, and theater camp, the photo albums from our childhood. You can tell who the favorite was by the lighting alone. In every family photo, Nina stood front and center, usually wearing a designer hat or some boutique outfit picked just for her. I was usually in the back or off to the side, wearing hand-me-downs or clearance bin outfits like I'd been added in last minute. Maybe they didn't even notice. I used to whisper that to myself at night, staring up at the sticker stars on our bedroom ceiling. Nina had twice as many on her side. Even the ceiling constellations seemed to favor her. The hardest part wasn't the stuff, the toys or clothes kids can live without fancy toys and brand names. It was in the way their eyes lit up for her and dimmed for me. When Nina talked, they leaned in like she held magic. When I spoke, their eyes drifted somewhere else, their attention already floating, usually back to Nina. As school approached, I held out hope that things would shift. Maybe with teachers and other adults in the picture, our parents would finally see us both for who we were. Maybe they'd see twins not as a split burden but a double gift. Maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see me. I remember our first day of school, standing on the front step, Nina and I both in stiff new uniforms, Mom taking pictures. We actually matched for once. Same skirt, same blouse, same cardigan. I thought, maybe this time things would shift. Girls, smile, Mom said, but her focus never left Nina. Nina, baby, tilt your head. Yes, perfect. That old ache in my chest settled right back in. Even dressed the same, she managed to make Nina shine more. We actually matched for once. Same skirt, same blouse, same cardigan. I thought, maybe this time, things would shift. Girls, smile, Mom said, but her focus never left Nina. Nina, baby, tilt your head. Yes, perfect. That old ache in my chest settled right back in. Even dressed the same, she managed to make Nina shine more. Our classroom was warm and colorful, with alphabet posters, a rug for story time, and tiny desks in tidy rows. Our teacher, Mrs. Thompson, arranged the seats alphabetically. So Carter and Carter ended up side by side. I felt hopeful. Finally, someone might see us as equals. But the moment school ended, the old imbalance snapped back into place. Mom's silver SUV would glide up to the curb, and the routine that followed cut a little deeper every day. Lena, head straight home and finish your work, Mom would say without looking up. Then she'd turn to Nina, her voice lighter. Ready for art class, sweetheart? Off they'd go to ballet on Mondays, piano on Tuesdays, art class on Wednesdays, gymnastics on Thursdays, and drama club on Fridays. I'd watch the SUV disappear, then unlock the door to a house where the silence waited like a loyal shadow. I dove into schoolwork, hoping that maybe if I brought home enough gold stars, they'd finally look my way. I sat at the kitchen table, drilling equations, writing vocabulary lists, reading ahead 2 chapters. The house stayed still, like it forgot it once held laughter, until the garage door creaked and their voices poured in. Nina bubbling over with her latest trophy or ribbon, and Mom's praise trailing behind like perfume. "Mom, I got 100 on my history quiz," I said one night, paper trembling in my hands. "That's nice, sweetheart," she replied while pulling leotards out of Nina's dance bag. "Nina, show Dad that spin you practiced today." I kept trying. Every test score, every glowing comment from teachers, I hoarded them like tiny jewels, hoping one might finally catch their eye, hoping someday just one of them would spark in their eyes the way Nina did without even trying. And then came the night that rewrote everything I thought I knew. I was 12, walking barefoot to the kitchen for a glass of water, homework still fresh on the table. I heard their voices from the den downstairs, soft, late-night tones they thought I couldn't hear. I usually tuned them out, but something in Dad's voice made me pause on the stairs. "Sometimes I wonder if we made the wrong choice," Dad murmured. His voice was heavy with something I couldn't name. Regret? Exhaustion? "What do you mean?" Mom asked, not alarmed, curious. "Having 2, Nina would have been enough. She's everything we ever wanted in a daughter. But 2, it's just more than we needed." "I get what you're saying," Mom sighed. "Nina's special. She's going places." "But Lena, she's just there, quiet, background. We'd have been fine with just Nina." The glass in my hand slipped, but I caught it before it hit the tile. I wished I could have caught my heart too, before it cracked. In that moment, everything came into focus. All those years of trying to earn their affection, of waiting for change that never came, suddenly felt foolish. They didn't want me. They never had. I was the unwanted twin, the extra daughter, the one they quietly wished away. Something cracked open inside me that night. I stopped chasing their approval and buried myself in academics. Turns out, letting go of their praise made space in my mind I didn't know I had. My grades, already decent, became stellar. "Brilliant analysis, Lena," Mr. Peterson said, holding up my paper on Gatsby. "This is the kind of depth I want to see from all of you." I could feel Nina stiffening beside me, shoulders tight. Her pencil tapped sharp and fast against her desk. Her signature move when irritated, I kept my focus on the board, though I could see the flush crawling up her cheeks. This wasn't just in English, math, science, even PE, the pattern repeated. The more praise I got, the more Nina seemed to shrink and seethe. It peaked in chemistry when Miss Nguyen asked me to lead a peer study group. That evening, Nina's voice floated up from the kitchen, sharp and whiny. "Mom, the teachers are targeting me. They keep praising Lena to make me look bad on purpose. They're obviously biased." The next morning, Mom burst into school, fur-trimmed coat swishing, heels echoing like gunshots. I watched from the library corner as she marched straight into the counselor's office. The academic advisor had already called in Ms. Lee, our homeroom teacher. "I want to know why you're singling out my daughter," Mom snapped. Ms. Lee, graceful under fire, remained calm and factual. "Mrs. Carter, if I may show you something," she began. She laid down our grade charts side by side on the desk. "Here are their records. Lena consistently ranks in the top percentiles. Nina's performance is more varied. Are you saying Nina isn't intelligent? Mom cut in. Not at all. I'm simply stating Lena's academic record is… Exactly. This is the bias I'm talking about. Mom exploded. No amount of charts or facts could change her mind. That night, I overheard her telling Dad that the whole school staff had it out for their precious Nina. By the time I turned 16, I was done begging for lunch money while Nina got $100 bills for breathing. I applied for a part-time job at Luna Brew, a cozy little cafe, a short bike ride from home. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me something I'd never had. Autonomy, plus for once people noticed when I walked into a room, in a good way. It was unfamiliar and wonderful. Naturally, Nina found a way to sour it. You're seriously going to wait tables? She sneered over breakfast, watching me tie my apron like it was some kind of humiliation. That's so low class, Mom. Can you believe Lena's actually serving coffee to strangers? Mom didn't reply, just sighed and handed Nina another crisp $100 for self-care. That's when a long-buried memory surfaced. Something I wasn't supposed to hear. A shouting match Mom had once had on the phone, thinking no one else was home. I'm done with your hand-me-down lifestyle and tiny house. Don't call me again. I've moved on. I'm better than that now. She had been yelling at her own parents. My grandparents, I'd never met them, cut off because they didn't fit her curated life. That evening, while Mom and Nina were out at yet another boutique opening, I slipped quietly into Mom's locked study. In her old paper planner, under D, don't call, was a handwritten address. It was in the older part of town, somewhere we'd never driven past. The next afternoon, I skipped my cafe shift. I caught a bus to a pale blue house with a tidy little garden out front. My heartbeat thundered as I followed the brick path to the door. I didn't know what I'd find, but I needed to know. I raised my hand to knock. Before I even could, the door creaked open. It opened to reveal an older couple, eyes warm but wary. The woman wore her gray hair in a tidy braid. The man's glasses slipped a little on his nose. They stared at me, puzzled, until I finally spoke. Hi, I'm Lena Carter, I think. I'm your granddaughter. Their jaws dropped in perfect sync. The woman, my grandmother, brought a trembling hand to her lips. Frank, it's really her. They ushered me inside, and before I knew it, I was sipping tea in a tiny floral cup in their sunlit sitting room. They couldn't take their eyes off me. You look exactly like your mom. Before she changed, Grandma said gently. That first visit turned into a quiet ritual. I told my parents I was picking up late shifts, but really I was spending afternoons in that little blue house, bringing leftover scones and cookies from the cafe. They listened, really listened, asked about school, books, even silly dreams I barely said out loud before. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel invisible. Then came graduation. The ceremony was typical, Carter style. Every camera flash on Nina. When my name was called for valedictorian, their applause was polite. But when Nina crossed the stage for a participation award, they cheered like she won the Nobel. I should have known what was coming next. But somehow, it still hit harder than I expected. Girls, big news! Mom chirped over her morning smoothie. We're celebrating graduation in Santorini. My heart lifted, just a bit. Foolishly, maybe, just maybe. This time would be different. Sweetheart, Mom turned to me, voice soaked in syrup. We could only swing 3 tickets. For your father, Nina, and me. Hope you understand. Someone needs to stay behind, keep an eye on the house. Plus, you have work, right? Nina stirred her juice slowly, smiling like it was her birthday. Don't worry, sis. I'll send you a full slideshow of my fabulous beach life. The next morning, I stood at the doorway, watching them pile glossy luggage into a town car. Nina turned back dramatically, waving like she was in a movie. I'll make sure you get all the best angles from the Maldives. You can look at them between refilling coffee orders. As soon as the car turned the corner, I grabbed my phone, hands trembling, and dialed my grandparents. I heard Grandma's voice, and the dam broke. They left without me. Just left, I gasped between sobs, like I'm invisible, like I don't matter. Oh, sweetheart, Grandma said, gentle but unwavering. Come here, honey. We'll celebrate your graduation our way. I drove straight to their house, tears still drying on my cheeks. As I turned onto their quiet lane, something unfamiliar caught my eye. A brand new hybrid SUV parked in their driveway, gleaming in the afternoon sun. It looked absurd next to their modest home and old garden gnomes. Whose car is that? I asked, confused, stepping onto the porch. Grandpa just smiled and held out a set of keys, his eyes twinkling. It's yours, happy graduation, Lena. I froze, mouth half open. Wait. What? But how? Why? Sit down, darling, Grandma said, patting the porch swing. There's something you should know. They told me how, after Mom walked away from them, they quietly invested their savings in a few tech startups. Those investments grew more than they ever expected, but they never changed their lifestyle. Same old house, same grocery list. Your mother left because we didn't fit her image anymore, Grandpa said, shaking his head. The irony? We're probably better off than her now. We just don't need to prove it to anyone. We've been waiting for the right time to support you, Grandma said, smiling. This felt right. I threw my arms around them, heart bursting with gratitude. They led me inside to a graduation lunch they'd made just for me. The table was laid with their finest dishes, and a hand-painted banner read, "Congrats, Lena." Over cheesy lasagna and garlic knots, they asked about college. Actually, I said, my chest lifting, I got into Princeton full ride. I start in September. Their faces lit up with pure joy, nothing like the half-hearted nods I got from my parents. That's amazing, Grandma said. What about where you'll stay? Scholarship covers it. I was thinking dorms, I answered. Nonsense, Grandpa said, shaking his head. You'll have an apartment safe, close, yours. Somewhere you can focus on school, not cafeteria noise. Just then, my phone buzzed. Nina again, sprawled on another beach. Caption: Wish you were here. LOL not. I looked at her message, then looked up at my grandparents, then at the car keys next to my glass of lemonade. For the first time, I didn't feel like a shadow. The next 2 weeks passed slowly. I split my time between cafe shifts, packing boxes, and afternoon tea with Grandpa and Grandma. Every evening, another ping, Nina again, posing on a yacht, sipping something tropical, tagging luxury resorts. Each photo came with a new caption, more smug than the last, living my dream, while someone's still making lattes. So this is what satisfaction feels like. Some people sip coconut water in Hawaii. Others build lives no one expected. Then came the day they came back. I was on the couch with a book open, eyes fixed on the window. The taxi rolled to the curb, and I grinned as their expressions changed frame by frame. Mom saw it first, stopped so short Nina bumped right into her. Her expensive bag tumbled onto the concrete. Dad, juggling their matching luggage, nearly fell over them both. What is that? Mom's voice sliced through the air, high, sharp, incredulous. She pointed at the car like it might explode. Her manicured hand trembled around her oversized ring. That's a new C-Class, right? Dad stuttered, jaw slack. The newest model. I walked slowly to the door, savoring the delicious silence of their disbelief. Their golden tans faded shade by shade with each step I took. When I stepped out, they looked at me like I'd come back from the dead. Whose car is that? Dad barked, face burning from sun and disbelief. I spun the keys slowly on my finger, the way Nina used to show off her purse charms. Nina let out a snort, but her laugh cracked halfway through. Yeah, right. As if tips could pay for that car. What did you do? Steal it? Sleep with the owner? Borrow it from a customer? Actually, I said slowly, each syllable sweet and rich, like a truffle they'd never offer me. It's a graduation gift. From Grandma and Grandpa. Mom's tan faded so fast she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I honestly thought she might pass out. You mean the parents you cut off? The ones too unsophisticated for your lifestyle? Dad turned to Mom so sharply, I worried he'd sprain something. Catherine, call your parents. Now. He used the same bossy tone he reserved for sending back undercooked steak. Mom's hand trembled as she dug her phone from her bag. Her perfect nails caught the sunlight like tiny mirrors. She skipped greetings entirely when Grandma picked up. She put it on speaker without realizing. Classic Mom. Where the hell did you get money for that car? She snapped. Her voice echoed across the whole front yard. I heard Grandma on speaker. Calm, just a little amused. Well, hello to you too, dear. Enjoying your luxury getaway? Saw all the glam photos Nina shared? Lovely filters. That resort looks fabulous this season. Don't deflect. How can you afford a Mercedes for Lena? Well, sweetheart, Grandma replied, voice soaked in smug satisfaction. Looks like you misjudged us. Those embarrassing parents you wrote off? We're doing just fine. Better than fine, actually. We're wealthy. Mom's tone flipped like a switch. She went full sugar mode. Mom, I've been thinking, maybe we should move on from the past. Family means everything, right? Does it? Grandma's tone went ice cold. Naturally, speaking of family. Mom's eyes darted to Nina, who was already pring. You do have another granddaughter who'd love to reconnect, you know. She could use a car too, maybe even something a touch nicer. Grandpa's laugh burst through the speaker like thunder. You mean the granddaughter you paraded around Hawaii while leaving Lena behind? Mom's face went beet red. That's not what Listen, as grandparents, you should be fair. Equal treatment for both girls. They're twins, same age, same everything. It's only right they get the same kind of gifts. Equal? Grandma cut in, voice suddenly sharp. That's rich coming from you, Catherine. Parents are supposed to love their kids equally too, you know. But that's not quite how things go in your household, is it? The call ended in icy silence. Mom glared at her phone, then turned to me with a face like stone. Lena, give that car to your sister now. Excuse me? I blinked. Surely I misheard. Nina needs reliable transportation for college, Dad chimed in. She got into State University, remember? She can't just ride the bus. You're just working in a coffee shop. What do you need a luxury car for? Nina was already halfway to the car, hand extended like she owned it. Hand over the keys, sis. You know I'll make it look good. I laughed, loud and clear. The audacity was just absurd. This is mine, I said calmly, and I'm not handing it over. Dad stormed forward, face flushing with fury. If you won't give the car to Nina, you can pack your things and leave. Funny you say that, I said, walking calmly toward the Mercedes. I popped the trunk. Inside were my packed bags. Ready for days, I'd been ready to leave. Just needed the right moment. Their jaws dropped in unison. I pulled out an envelope and held it between two fingers. Also, just so you know, I won't be pouring lattes much longer. I got into Princeton full ride. Nina's scream could have cracked glass in the next zip code. Mom staggered back like I'd struck her across the face. Dad stood frozen, mouth flapping like a fish gasping for air. I slid into the car, the leather seat sighing beneath me through the windshield. I glimpsed their stunned expressions. That polished family fantasy of theirs unraveling in real time. That last stretch of summer at my grandparents' place was pure peace. Mornings began with the scent of fresh coffee and Grandpa's soft humming. No tension, no silent competition, no feeling like I had to shrink to fit, just belonging. The move to Princeton came with a quiet ache and quiet pride. I hugged them tight, promising daily calls and weekend photos, then drove off in my Mercedes, every piece of my new life packed in the back. The highway to New Jersey felt like a bridge between two versions of myself. My grandparents rented me a bright little apartment, 10 minutes from campus. It wasn't luxurious, but it felt like a castle compared to any dorm. Polished wood floors, tall windows, and a tiny balcony just for me. They insisted on covering rent, no matter how much I argued. Still, I craved a sliver of independence, so I found work at a nearby cafe. The irony didn't escape me. Still pouring coffee, but now because I wanted to, not because I had to. Most coworkers were students too, and for once I didn't feel like an outsider. One sunny Sunday, a month into the semester, Grandma called with a curious tone. "Your parents stopped by yesterday," she said casually. My chest tightened. "Why?" I asked. "Oh, you know, Catherine," Grandma said, all sugary smiles, fake forgiveness, and questions about our finances, followed by a not-so-subtle mention of Nina's birthday. "Your dad kept glancing at every corner like he was calculating our assets," Grandma said. "So, what did you say?" I asked. Grandpa chimed in from the background. "We told them our money was already spoken for, and it's all going to you." I could see their expressions in my mind, shocked, tight-lipped. How'd they respond? I asked. "Let's just say," Catherine's smile cracked a little after that. Grandma let out a small laugh. "We told them not to come back." That night, I blocked all their numbers and unfollowed them on every platform, Nina included. I knew what came next: dramatic apologies, claims of love, empty offers to start over. But I was done craving that version of family. Now, in my constitutional law lecture, I'm taking notes and actually enjoying the challenge. Sometimes I think of that younger version of me, the girl who prayed to be seen. I wish I could whisper to her, "Hold on, better is coming." Not just love, but respect, trust, and the space to be her full self. My phone vibrates softly in my bag. Probably my study group texting about our library session tonight. Or maybe it's Jake, the guy from Psych who keeps asking me out for coffee. Thankfully, not where I used to work. It's all so ordinary. And that's the best part. No drama, no measuring up, no shrinking myself to fit someone else's mold. Just me, my work, my friends, and a future wide open, waiting.